Play Orianna Support. Play Orianna Support.
Well, if you insist. Hello everyone, my name is Borax, and today I'll be answering the question, how strong is Orianna when played as a support? Now the reasons why I think she could work as a support are as follows. She has a movement speed buff for allies on her W, enemies get slowed by her W, a shield on her E that also grants some resistances, and then she has her wonderful ultimate, which is one of the most unique and interesting AoE CC tools in all of League. It's a decent amount of utility, but is it enough to make her viable? Well, let's find out together, as I rate the Lady of Clockwork on her ability to be played in the support role.
We will kill your enemies. That will be fun.
Now, I am quite an aggressive player in general and love to invade, but Orianna is terrible. At level 1, you will only have your Q leveled up, which provides no amount of CC, so I'll rate her at a F+ for invading, because at least she is AoE and can check bushes with her ball. Let's talk about laning, where I like to judge a champion based on 3 categories: poking, peeling, and all-inning. When it comes to poking, Orianna isn't half bad. First off, you have your passive, which makes your autos do a tiny bit more damage, and when mixed with Spell Thief's Edge, it can really help you out early on. Then you have your Q, which when combined with the W slow, guarantees your Comet proc. You'll be catching people off guard with your poke, as I think you were just trolling picking Ori. If they don't respect you, a flash QW will always kill an idiot. For poking, I will give Orianna an A- in the support role. It's decent, but not as good as the meta champions known for poking in the bot lane. Peeling as Orianna is a little underwhelming, as it comes down to you shielding allies with E and pressing W hoping that they can run away. It's not that bad, but if someone gets hard engaged on, it's not great. For peeling, I will give Orianna a B-. You are really going to be needing to rely on your nimble feet to juke enemies' abilities. In one of the better lanes I played, I had a random Kayle who ended up having to peel more for me than I could peel for her, which makes me believe Orianna isn't the best peeler. Without her ultimate, she doesn't have the hard CC you would want to truly stop a play, and most of the time you'd rather save your ultimate to pull off an all-in. Without your ultimate, it's hard for Orianna to force the issue herself. The best thing you can do is put your E on an ally, and when they are close to the enemy, Wing to slow them and to grant your ally a speed buff. Although I will say, you can all-in very effectively if you hit level 2 before your opponents, which you do rather consistently if you help your ADC push by autoing the minions. With level 2 advantage, your QW is quite effective at chunking out and slowing opponents, and most people won't be expecting it. Once you have your ultimate, you can look for an opportunity to hit a multi-man shockwave, which will hopefully connect and get your team some kills, or at least you can get some flashes and then have the Malphite, who has given up on mid lane, kill you instead. For all-inning, I will give Orianna a C-. With ultimate, it's not too bad, but other than that, you really need to have been poking the enemy like crazy if you hope to ever end up killing them as she struggles to all-in. Now that we've talked about Orianna's laning prowess, let's talk about the matchups that she might have to face. If you follow this channel, then you know I disdain Morgana and would say that she is the League of Legends equivalent of accidentally getting soap in your mouth. Morgana is rather tricky as she has better range than you do and better kill pressure, which makes the lane very scary. The problem with picking Orianna support is that the laning phase can be extremely tricky because there are so many potential threats. Anyone who has a lot of poke will have a field day against your lane, and all the heavy engaged champions can easily convert you into 300 gold. Some lanes that are hard but not doomed are champions with less CC but still decent kill pressure. There's also Yuumi and Zilean, who you can't really punish but will get to scale for free. Then pretty much all of the enchanters belong in the stalemate tier, as well as Taric and Braum, as they don't have too much kill threat on you in lane, so it will really come down to if you can play better than them throughout the game. You also have a good opportunity of getting a multi-man shockwave on the ADC and support with many of these champions, as they usually stick closer together. Now I don't really think there are any champions where you are slightly favored, sadly, and the only matchup I think you could do really well in is a mirror matchup, as the other person is probably trolling playing Ori support. Finally, we have a bunch of champions in the who plays these guys to even tier, because I'm still waiting for the day where I see them in my game. Now let's talk about ADCs that you want to pair Orianna with, and truthfully she doesn't have too many great synergies. The ones that might work are Tristana and Samira, as they could deliver your ball to the enemies, giving you an easier shockwave, but that seems a bit risky. I do know that you don't want to be playing with a weak laning ADC because you won't be able to do much in terms of covering for their flaws. Because Orianna struggles a bit in lane and has so many bad matchups, you might want to consider trying to roam to help your team find some leads. Orianna isn't the worst when it comes to roaming, as she is a pretty good enabler for her melee allies. But on her own, she just lacks that hard CC pre-level 6 to really force a play. But once you're post level 6, you can look to make some flashy ult plays to catch people off guard. But bear in mind, because you are a support, you won't do the most damage and are very vulnerable to being killed in return, so it's quite risky, and for these reasons, I will give her a C for roaming. It's time to give Orianna a rating for her ability to support in the early game, which I'll slot at a C. She feels so ridiculously average early game, as she's truly only online when she gets her ultimate ability, as the rest of her kit is all very passable, but nothing to write home about in the support role. I think that Orianna is a scaling pick, however, and gets better as the game progresses, so let's talk about that now.
I know what makes them tick. I know how to make the ticking stop.
In the late game, responsibilities of a support I like to rate include their ability to get picks and to teamfight. I remember when I first was watching competitive League of Legends, and Orianna's Shockwave was usually reserved only for the biggest teamfights and epic moments. And while it's still great for those occasions, I've seen it used so often in competitive recently as a means to just kill one person really quickly who is out of position, and as a support you can do just that. If you can camp a bush and get a shockwave on someone, there's little they can usually do unless they have flash up. The other way you can help your team get picks as Ori is by using your W to speed up people towards enemies and catching them off guard. For getting picks, I will give her an A rating. Her ultimate is deadly and she is a good enabler for others, but there are a lot better champions out there who don't need to use their best ability in order to get a pick. Now let's talk about teamfighting, where support's responsibilities include engaging, peeling, and sometimes dealing damage. When you are playing Orianna Support, your primary focus won't usually be engaging, but rather enabling others around you to engage. With Shurilia's Battle Song, you'll be giving allies tons and tons of movement speed that they want to run at people, which is quite the noticeable impact. Another classic maneuver is having someone deliver your ball towards the enemies so that you can activate it, causing them to be CC'd and end up dead. If you need to be the one to engage, the best way I found to do so was by flash ulting in to catch people off guard and hoping that you hit that ultimate. Although sometimes the enemies just won't notice the ball right next to them, and you can hit a multi-man ulti naturally. For engaging, I will give Orianna a B+. It's ally and ulti reliant, but when it does work, it's amazing and so much fun. It's time to talk about something that's differently entertaining, which is keeping those around you alive for as long as possible so that they can shine. I was able to have so many close saves with that E that makes me believe it's not a bad shield. It does grant 30 bonus resistances and max rank, which isn't too bad, especially if people don't have that many to begin with. Then, your W is giving a 50% speed boost to all people nearby and slowing enemies by that same amount. It's a pretty good slow and will help you peel, but Orianna's greatest weakness is going to be enemies with gap closers, as the only response you have to that is hoping to hit them with an ultimate. This can disrupt their movement and have your team be the one who kills rather than getting killed. For peeling, I will give Orianna Support an A-. It's pretty good if you can survive during a fight, but there is a big risk that you can just get one-shotted, so you have to be very careful. Now, most supports aren't expected to do damage, and Orianna's is nothing too special, but at least all of her spells are AoE, and a fair amount of it, so I'll give her an A- rating for dealing damage during a team fight for a support. Before we look at Orianna's overall ability to support, let's take a look at the runes and items that I would recommend. In order to have the most impact on lane, I would recommend going common, as you want to maximize your poke in any way you can. For the rest of the tree, I like to go Mana Flow Band, Transcendence, and finally Scorch. For the secondary tree, I'm a sucker for perfect timing for its outplay potential, and I think biscuits are important for helping you to survive lane. Now let's talk about Orianna's items. When it comes to your gold income item, if you think you can poke, you should definitely go for a Spell Thief's Edge, but if you think the lane will be dangerous, a Relic Shield is a safer option. Ionian Boots of Lucidity are going to be a good pickup, as you will want the CDR to spam out more E's and W's. Now, while there are certainly multiple mythic choices to choose, the one that I found to be the most effective was Shurilia's Battle Song, as the movement speed you will be granting allies from your shields and W only gets enhanced with this item, and the active will help you both peel and get into fights. The rest of your items will be situational. Constantly getting dived, Zhonya's isn't a bad pickup. Need to cut down enemies healing, Chemtech Putrefier is a good pickup. Then, there are so many other enchanter items that definitely have merit, and will come down to what you think is best based on your comp and the enemy's comp. Now that we've talked about the runes and items, let's give Orianna an overall rating for her ability to support, which I'll slot at a B rating. Early game is pretty hard, and you will want laning phase to be over as soon as possible, so that you can start supporting your jungler instead, as you are better at enabling melee characters than ranged ones. Thankfully, her poke is passable enough where you can stand your ground against most enchanters, but she is way too vulnerable against heavy engaged supports. Would I recommend you play Orianna Support? Sure. If you love Orianna and are pretty decent at her, but are bored of mid lane, take her to the bot lane, in a normals or a flex game, as you'll be able to have an impact in the game for sure. But I do think in most solo duo ranked games, Orianna isn't the best choice. When should you pick it? The most optimal team comps you will want to play it in is when you have lots of melee characters on your team who will be able to benefit from your movement speed steroids and better yet can deliver your ball into a team fight, because at the end of the day, Shockwave is such an impactful ability that you can swing an entire game if you hit one or two of them in an important team fight. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and would leave it a like, that would be amazing, and if you consider subscribing, that would make my day. Again, thanks for watching, and I want to wish you good luck and have fun if you're playing Orianna Support. You will probably need it.